Nan, it feels strange sharing something so important without you here. I often find myself wishing you could see how much I've changed, how much I've grown, and the journey that have brought me to this moment. Since saying goodbye to you in 2024, life has felt different. Writing became one of the ways I stayed connected to you, holding on to the memories, lessons, and the love you left behind. This documentary means more to me than I can put into words. I can easily imagine how proud you would be to see this. You always supported me in everything I did, even during the times when I struggled to believe in myself. Your faith in me never wavered, and I carry that with me every day. I miss you more than words can express, but I am endlessly grateful I had a nan like you. Someone who loved so deeply, cared so completely, and stood beside me through every chapter of life. I hope this documentary would make you proud. Love you always. I'm Brogan, I'm 29 and I'm autistic. Growing up autistic means seeing the world through a unique lens, a lens that didn't always align with what others expected or even understood. Sometimes the world didn't make sense to me, and sometimes I didn't make sense to the world. This documentary is a window into my life, a real, unfiltered look at what it's like living with autism. The struggles, the strength, the resilience. These are true stories, real challenges, and powerful moments of growth. This documentary is for the misunderstood, for those trying to understand, and for those who need to know they're not alone. Come with me and step into my world, my story. This is Autism and Me. Every story begins with a question, and for me it started with a simple one. Why? Why is this topic so important, and why does it matter right now? The more I've searched for answers, the more I realised that this wasn't just something I wanted to understand, it was something that I wanted to be shared with everyone. I also carry something deeply personal into this journey. I lost someone really important to me, who supported me in everything I did. When my nan passed away, I struggled to cope, and I found myself turning to writing. As a way to heal, I guess. Writing gave me clarity, a way to process my emotions, and a way to keep moving forward. That experience inspired me to create this documentary, not just to tell a story, but to uncover truth, to ask hard questions, and to give a voice to experiences that I often go unheard. In particular, I wanted to explore autism on both to help myself better understand and to help others like myself who might be searching for the connection, empathy, and understanding, I guess. This film is my journey of grief, curiosity and discovery, and my hope is that by sharing and shining a light here, we can see the world and each other.
Oh my God.
Brogan was
a very fun-loving, happy child most of the time. But if things didn't go his way, he would also be very frustrated and could have quite big outbursts. I first met Brogan when he was in year 1. He was about 6 years old and I was a student in the class at the time. He was finding school a little bit tricky at the time and he was just going through his diagnosis and being moved to a new school. So he was only with me for a few months before he left. I then became friendly with his family later on, quite a few years later on, and that is when I really got to know Brogan.
Brogan was different. I felt Brogan was different. He never slept. He didn't sleep during the day. He didn't sleep during the night. He was nothing like our firstborn. And although I couldn't quite put my finger on it, I just knew something felt different. Then our youngest daughter came along, Brie. By the time she was 1, she was already doing things that Brogan just wasn't doing. And then he was 3. When Brogan started school in the January after his 3rd birthday, we went to parents' evening a couple of months later at the end of the term. And his teacher said, "Brogan is very immature." Kevin looked at me strange and I said, "Yeah, he is only 3, but I knew what she meant. I knew what she meant." It wasn't until that he turned 4 that he began speaking in full sentences. When I say full sentences, he put words together. By then, his sister Brie was 2 and was just jumping over his head.
When I first met Brogan, what came across first was his confidence and his appearance. It was at one of his perm times, and he looked very confident in himself, well put together, and was very friendly as soon as we started speaking. And I remember thinking he was really cool and was chuffed that we were both into photography, so we had something to talk about. I thought Brogan was older than he was at the time, as he came across as very knowledgeable and confident. And I didn't actually know for a long time that Brogan had a diagnosis of autism until his mum mentioned it in passing. I was surprised to find out that he'd been to an additional needs school, as he was always so confident.
I have gained a very good understanding over Brogan over the last few years and still continue to learn new things about him every day. My understanding on autism has grown and I have learned that autism can have different effects on people. I have learned to gain understanding and how to be patient in certain situations, as the way I react to something could be completely different to how Brogan reacts, and that is absolutely fine.
It's a proper relaxing moment, isn't it?
Understanding comes with time. Learning his triggers, noticing what calms him, and reminding myself that what might feel insignificant to me can feel overwhelming to him. The more I learn, the more I realise that support isn't about having all the answers, but about showing unconditional patience, love and respect, even on the difficult days. There's definitely been moments of misunderstanding. The way I process situations and the way Brogan processes them can be completely different.
I think growing up with autism have always confused me. There's no doubt about that. For a long time, I didn't fully understand what that meant for myself. There are days I wake up and I wonder why I'm still trying to exist in a world that feels so cold, so cruel, and to anyone who doesn't fit into its narrow boxes. A world that judges people for the way they look, the way they move, the way they love, or even the battles they fight silently in their minds. I see the way people with disabilities are treated differently. I hear people speak about those who are different with mockery, with ignorance, with a lack of compassion. That's what wins you. I just think to myself, what kind of world is this? And why would anyone want to be part of it? Growing up with autism weren't all bad. I had a loving family, loving friends. I had quite a lucky life, if I'm honest. But going back to my childhood, I always felt different. Emotions were confusing, and everyday situations that others seemed to handle so easily often left me feeling overwhelmed or out of place. I didn't have the words back then to explain what I was feeling, and I really don't have the full answers now. Although back then, I kept most of it inside. On the outside, I had a loving, supportive family, my mum, my dad, my 2 incredible sisters. But even with all that love around me, I still felt alone at times. Over the years, I've come to learn that you can be surrounded by people, still feel disconnected. That's the quiet part of autism. That's the side many people don't see. I still remember the day I began the diagnosis process for autism, and I was sitting in the room full of the doctors and specialists and explains their observations to my parents, carefully outlining why they believed I was on the autism spectrum. And at that age, I didn't really understand what was happening, everything that was being said. But one moment that stayed with me ever since, I looked over to my mum, saw tears running down her face.
We struggled back and forth to the doctors. Hospital appointments were really hard, especially when he told the doctor once that Kevin was his stepdad. Obviously he's not. Brogan was just really anxious and going to the doctors, especially and hospitals. Just if appointments wasn't on time, he would literally get up and walk out if it was minutes past his appointment. They'd put a doctor's name on the appointment letter, but then we'd get there and it'd be a different doctor, and then he'd refuse to see him. There was one doctor in particular, Dr. Latif. He was Brogan's first doctor, and after a lot of tearful appointments, he said to us, "Listen, you can both do this. There's no point trying to get Brogan to adjust. You need to adjust to him." And them words stuck, and that's what we done. We adjusted to Brogan. I remember saying to Kevin one day, "I think he's getting better, you know." Kevin just looked at me and was like, "No, I just think we're getting better at dealing with it."
Recently, during one of my most difficult periods in my life, this year actually, I was dealing with serious health conditions that required support from my GP, and I finally reached out to them. Both physically and mentally, I reached a point where I had to make a decision to prioritise my well-being. I realised my job would still be there the following month, but if I continued at the pace I was going, I might not have been, and that's the truth of it. At that time, I did not feel supported by my employer in making that decision. I felt like there was more concern about cover and pressure than about my well-being as a person. This left me feeling that my return to work was being prioritised rather than my recovery. What have stayed with me the most was an earlier incident actually that happened when I was called into the office shortly after my nan passed away, and I was visibly grieving and struggling. During that meeting, my work ethic was criticised as not meeting the standards expected for a 4-star establishment. I was extremely upset and shocked that there was no acknowledgement of what I was going through personally. I left that meeting feeling unheard, unsupported, and at a time when I needed compassion. These experiences have also made me reflect on how employers understand, or should I say fail to understand, individuals with autism and other disabilities, while many organisations will publicly promote their commitment to mental health, and my experiences did not reflect that commitment in practice whatsoever. I did not feel that reasonable understanding, adjustments, or empathy was demonstrated when I needed them the most. It is deeply disappointing to live in a society that encourages people to speak up, yet when someone does express vulnerability or struggles, they feel sidelined rather than supported. I am fully committed to maintaining a high standards within my work, and I have a strong work ethic. However, I can't continue to do so at the expense of my own health, dignity, and identity. Autism have not defined my life in a negative way. I feel fortunate to have lived a happy, fulfilling life, surrounded by supportive family and friends. I have been privileged enough to enjoy memorable holidays, meaningful experiences, and quality time with the loved ones, all of which have enriched my journey. I was always lucky to have the support I had and have the family that I have. Although I don't know if they would say the same, because I am a handful on times. I'm filming.
Oh, yeah. Brogan can be a handful. He can have random mood swings, meltdowns over the smallest of things, and at times can get quite personal and nasty. Sometimes it can be hard to remember that he genuinely doesn't mean it. It's just a part of him. And support with Brogan isn't about fixing things, it's about being present, listening, and trying to understand his world instead of forcing him into mine. Small acts of reassurance, giving him space when he needs it, and celebrating the things he loves can make all the difference.
There are times when life feels especially heavy, when the pace of everything becomes too much, whether it's the weight of a difficult week or just the quiet exhaustion that comes from an unexpectedly hard day. In those moments, I find myself drawn here to Porthcawl. It's more than just a place to visit. It's a space where I can reconnect with myself. I was always down here as a kid. My nan and bab absolutely loved it. My whole family did. It's one of those places that brings a lot of comfort to me and to my family, especially with my nan no longer with us, as she loved it down here. And some of my warmest memories are tied to this coastline. Coming back now brings me a deep sense of comfort, almost like returning to something familiar and safe. The fresh sea air carries a kind of stillness that settles my thoughts, while the sound of the waves provides a steady calm that I can lean into. Walking along the seafront, retracing steps I once took as a child, reminds me to slow down, to breathe, and just to be present in that moment. Be grateful for life. It's in this quiet landscape that I feel a sense of release, kind of emotional reset. Porthcawl has become a retreat for mental health, offering peace and clarity I sometimes struggle to find in everyday life. It's where I can simply exist without pressure, without expectation, just me, the sea, and a moment to let go, have a cry if I need to. I'm lucky I drive, so therefore I can escape for a while. It's helped me a lot to unwind, to appreciate life, and to know it's okay not to be okay sometimes. We're staying down Porthcawl for the weekend. It was a lovely day. We decided to come for a walk, and it's absolutely piddling it down, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's pissing down.
Yeah. So we're walking back to the caravan now. Hear me?
Yes.
No, you want a drink?
I want a nice, crisp Diet Coke.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to do. Losing someone is never easy. It's just hard to make sense of it. How someone can be you one moment and then gone the next. Especially for someone with autism like myself, trying to understand grief can be even more complex. I don't really remember much when my band passed away. I was young. I didn't fully grasp what death meant. All I knew, that someone I loved was no longer there. And that didn't make sense in my world. Growing up autistic, grief isn't just emotional, it's confusing, it's the disruption to everything familiar. Everything's safe, but I can't say it's harder than it is for anyone else because I've never experienced grief without autism. I only know what it feels like in my mind, and that alone is hard enough to carry. Over the years, I've experienced grief in many forms. I lost a close friend as an adult. I lost my father-in-law, which was deeply painful, but nothing truly prepared me for losing my nan. She was the heart of our family, the glue that held us all together. When she passed, I think that's when I truly felt the full weight of grief for the first time in ever. It wasn't just sadness. It was a shift in my entire world, a hole that couldn't be filled. And navigating that grief while also managing the sensory overload, the emotional confusion, and the silent question that autism can bring. That was something else entirely. And then in December last year, my family and I experienced a heartbreaking loss of one of the most important people in our life, my grandmother, lovingly known as our Nanny Pat. She was truly the heart of our family, often referred to our queen. Her passing marked a turning point for me personally, particularly in the relation to my mental health. Nanny Pat was more than just a nan to me. She was my greatest supporter, my regular shopping companion, and above all, a constant source of love, comfort, and encouragement. Not a day goes by that I don't feel the pain of her absence. The simple things like holding her hand, kissing her head, and saying, "I'll see you tomorrow, Nan." These are now memories that I cherish deeply. And then coming to terms with the fact that those moments are no longer possible have been incredibly difficult to deal with. And very hard to process some days. I think she's still around, but then I realise, and then it's like I've lost her again. Her loss continues to affect me profoundly, and it has made the process of managing my emotions and mental health even more challenging and difficult on times. But I look back now and I can't help but feel a deep sense of guilt and regret. I realise I could have spent more time with my nan. Instead, I worked endlessly chasing goals and tasks that, at the end of the day, mean very little, because the truth is, none of that matters when compared to the people we love. What really matters is family. And it's only now, looking back, that I truly see it. I wish I had gone on more shopping trips with her. I wish I had laughed more with her, sat with her longer, and slowed down enough to simply enjoy her presence. She wasn't just my grandmother. She was my companion, my friend. Every moment with her was precious, and even the small ones. And yet I didn't realise how priceless they were at that time. It grips my heart to know that I won't ever again have the chance to walk beside her, to hear her laugh, or to share those simple joys. That's the hardest part for me. Understanding time is something we never get back. But through the regret, there is also gratitude. Gratitude for the time that we did share, for the love we gave so freely, and for the memories that I now hold so close. She shaped who I am, even in ways I didn't notice until she had gone. And though I can't make more memories with her, but I can carry her with me in everything I do. Her presence reminds me to slow down, to prioritise what truly matters, to value family over everything else. And in that way, she continues to guide me even now. My nan was, and always will be, the precious part of me. I often find myself thinking about death, and it's something that deeply unsettles me, because the thought of losing my parents is incredibly difficult to process, and it brings a great deal of fear, of uncertainty, and I wonder how I would cope without them, as they are such a vital part of my life and my emotional well-being. And since the passing of my nan, all these things have come to me over the last couple of years, or the last year. The bond between my mother and me have grown stronger. She has become my greatest supporter, and I have hers. Someone who truly understands me, supports me unconditionally, and our relationship has become even more meaningful. Her presence provides me with a sense of safety and comfort that I hold on to every day. And then my dad, too, plays an irreplaceable role in my life too. He is the most accepting and steady person I know. His unwavering support, patience and understanding make him my rock, especially during times when I feel emotional or even overwhelmed with life. And thinking about the future without them is frightening. That also reminds me how fortunate I am to have such a strong support system in the present.
He would have moments of extreme happiness, anger and frustration at times, but I wanted to help to navigate him to stop these times from happening. So I used to nurture him and his interests and build upon his social and emotional skills. So when Brogan was coming with me, it was on a one-to-one basis. So I had a lot of time for Brogan and I could indulge him in all the things that he was interested in. For example, the filming and the baking and the day trips, where his parents didn't always have the time to do that with him because he was one of 3 and they both were working and busy as well. So when he was with me, we could do all the things he wanted to do for the entire time that he was with me. So sometimes he could be with me for an hour, sometimes he could be with me for the whole day. And we would plan what he wanted to do, plan where he wanted to go. We'd do the day trips that he wanted to do. We went out on the bus, on the train, all the skills that he needed to learn. I had the time to do that with him. So we built on his confidence and his social skills. So I would get him to talk to the bus driver on the bus, or if we went to a place to visit, I'd get him to talk to the people that we were there with and interact with everybody. So we built on his social and emotional skills. He was always happy and smiling when he was with me because he was happy because he just got to be himself and do whatever he wanted to do. And so this is how our friendship grew over the years.
Growing up, my relationship with my dad was often strained, particularly around the time I come out as gay. At the time, I believed my conflict stemmed from him, but actually looking back, I realised it had more to do with my own internal struggles. I was facing a difficult journey of understanding and accepting my sexuality, and I carried a lot of confusion and unhappiness within myself. In many ways, my dad became an emotional outlet for the frustration I didn't know how to express at the time. And for that, I carry a deep sense of guilt, I guess. The truth is, my dad only ever wanted me to be happy. And looking back, I believed he saw that I wasn't, even before I fully understood it myself. When I finally made the decision to come out, I was terrified, especially about my family and how they would react, which is absolutely silly. But I feared losing their love and support, particularly my dad's. But to my relief, things turned out far better than what I expected, to be honest. Both my parents have shown me nothing but love, support and acceptance. And today, I'm incredibly grateful for the relationship I have with them, and especially for the strength, patience and unconditional love my dad has shown me through it all. My dad is without a doubt my best friend, and I will always be deeply grateful for the relationship we share. His presence in my life reminds me that even in a world that often feels uncertain and overwhelming, and at times filled with personal struggle and unhappiness, I'm not alone. I'm never alone. His support and understanding and unconditional love provides me with a sense of stability and connection that I value more than words can express. Then you have my mum. My relationship with my mum have always been filled with love, but like any parent-child bond, it faced its challenges, especially when you've got a child with autism. My mum never stopped being there. I think in her own way she sensed I was struggling, even before I could put it into words myself. When I finally came out, both my parents were supportive. Instead of judgment or any rejection that I received with warmth, reassurance and love. My mum didn't just accept me, she embraced me. That moment changed everything for me. And today my mum is one of my most important people in my life. Her strength, patience and unwavering love have helped me find strength in myself. She's been my comfort in moments of self-doubt, my encouragement when I needed courage, and my anchor through life's hardest moments. I will always be thankful for the way she stood by me, not just in spite of who I am, but because of who I am. In a world that can sometimes feel confusing or heavy, her love has been one of the clearest and most constant sources of light.
When he was 5, the school asked if the education psychologist could come down and assess Brogan. We agreed. I thought, yeah, that's fine. Then she called us the day of her visit and said, you know, can you come down for a chat? And that's when she said the words that changed everything. There is no doubt in my mind Brogan has autism. I didn't even know what autism was. I didn't have a clue. His dad's first thought was guilt, because for a long time he had joked and called Brogan Rain Man. He just said he's like Rain Man. He'd associate days of the week to TV show. So when I'd say he'd ask for something and I'd say Saturday, he'd say, casualty. Or if it was a Wednesday, it'd be Tracy Beaker Day. That's just naming a few. This is how he navigated time. Then they told us he'd need to be kicked out of mainstream school. They didn't say that, but that's what I heard. And I said, absolutely not. That's not happening. I was ready to fight to keep him in the same school as his sisters. One day, the head teacher asked me to come into the school during the school day and just have a look at Brogan, just to see what he was up to. I stood there watching my little boy alone in the yard, completely excluded. Not because other people were excluding him, because he excluded himself from others. His dad took it a lot better than I did. We made a pact with the head. I said, okay, fine, he can go. He can go for 1 year. And then if I'm not happy or he gets better, then he can come back. He was only in the special needs school for 4 months, such a short space of time, and he was just thriving. That's when I knew taking him back to mainstream school just to prove a point was just unfair on him. And all we ever wanted was the best for Brogan, as we do all our kids. Things were very difficult at times. Brogan could get very frustrated, anxious, and when he did, we all had to be on alert. I'll never forget the time he climbed out onto the windowsill just because he wanted to feel the rain on his face. The problem was we lived in a 4-storey house. The terrifying part was Bailey had to hold on to him that day to stop him falling. The thing is, he takes things very literal. One day I said, quick, we need to go. Bailey needs to catch the bus. And his reaction was, she's not strong enough to catch a bus. Another time I said, right, I need to go next door and feed the neighbour's dog. And he said, oh yeah, because he ain't got no hands, have he? He actually thought I was there physically feeding the dog. His sisters found it hard too. They were young, and in their eyes, Brogan was just getting away with everything. Although they didn't complain when he took the blame for things that they had done. There was a mix of frustration, but always loyalty to him. Still is. They're very loyal to Brogan.
My sister Bailey have always been my biggest cheerleader. We've shared a witty, light-hearted bond that have just brought a lot of joy into my life. And then when she moved to Swansea, I was gutted. I'm not gonna lie, I was. Her presence had always been a source of comfort and happiness for me, and her absence was deeply felt. But despite the distance, she have continued to support me in everything I do, always expressing pride in the person I'm becoming.
Technically, Adam's your ex because he dumped you one time.
Yeah. Then Brie, on the other hand, Brie is a very hard character, I'm not gonna lie. But she's straightforward and she's someone who sees things clearly and doesn't miss much. Long before I come out, Brie knew I was struggling. When Bailey moved away, Brie and I grew especially close. For a time, she was my only real friend. And in moments when I felt truly isolated, it was Brie who offered a hand to hold. Her quiet support and loyalty have meant more to me than she probably realises. Both my sisters have helped me shape the person I am today, and I'm truly grateful to have them by my side. Growing up with me being autistic put a massive strain on our household, and it isn't something that is easy to deal with. It's challenging for all parties involved, not just for myself, but for my siblings, for my parents, for my whole family. You've got to adjust to somebody with autism. Okay? Yeah. And I started to venture out myself, and within that process I met Adam, who is the most supportive, kind-hearted soul there is. When we first met, I remember being in the club. We used to go to this club called So Sweet all the time. And I remember speaking to my mum that day, and she said, "Have you told him you got autism?" And at that point, I didn't. I was really scared because I was so happy within Adam's company. I didn't want Adam to distance myself from me. Adam didn't care. He said to me, "You are just Brogan to me." And in that moment, I knew that Adam was the one for me. It was like switching on a light in a room I didn't even know that was dark. He didn't see labels or diagnoses, he just saw me, Brogan. He treated me like a human being, not someone struggling or living with autism around him. I felt alive. I felt like I could be myself. And I thought to myself, this is what happiness feels like. And I felt like I was in a bubble, but a happy bubble. Adam became my best friend, my soulmate, and the person who taught me what love really was. He's given me something I never thought I'd find, the freedom just to be me, and for that I will always be grateful. Myself and Adam then got engaged in 2021, where we moved into our first home, where we started our own little family with our fur babies, Milo and Monty. They are literally our two eyes. These changes in my life was massive, although they were positive changes, and I could cope with that. Then in 2024, myself and Adam got married in the most beautiful setting based in our hometown, surrounded by family who love us. And we was lucky enough to share this moment with my nanny Pat. We had the most beautiful day, pure love and happiness. I'm always asked what it's like being married to Adam, and I'm never good at being put on the spot. But being married feels like I'm coming home to my favourite person. It's the comfort of shared routines, inside jokes that don't need explaining. I look fit today, don't I? Do.
Look at your balance, bro.
You know, big innit? I don't have to perform or pretend. I can just be, and that's enough. Marriage has taught me that love isn't always found in big moments, but in the small, faithful ones. Showing up, listening, laughing, and standing together when life feels heavy. He is my partner, my safe place, and my constant. The person I want to tell everything to, and the one I trust to hold my heart gently. He is my pride and joy, my love, my soulmate, and the reason I'm sat here. Not because it's perfect, because together we are steady, intentional, and deeply connected. Coming home to him, in every sense of the word, is my greatest blessing and achievement. I've been fortunate to have a strong support system of family and friends who have stood by me throughout my mental health challenges. Their understanding and unwavering support through everything I've experienced has meant a great deal to me. Throughout my life, I have struggled with my mental health. I frequently experience confusion around my emotions and how best to manage them. While I'm not an expert in mental health, I have found myself coping by ignoring or suppressing my feelings rather than addressing them directly. I feel swiping a lot of issues under the carpet can lead to frustration, and when something minor happens, it's like a massive firework going off. Loud, but quick. Change has a massive factor within the condition. It could be routine or even life changes that can affect me too. And I think coming out as gay was hard, but telling Adam I'm autistic was even harder. When I came out, I was scared of how people might react. But when I came to Adam, it felt different. He isn't just anyone in my life. He's my ride or die, the person who brings light into my world. I was terrified that telling him would change how he saw me. But growing up with autism presented many challenges, and at that time, it was deeply isolating. I didn't have the kind of childhood friendships that many others seem to form, so naturally, I struggled with that side of it. I rarely went out unless my sisters were involved, and much of my early life was spent in solitude, if I'm honest. I remember my mum being called into a school after the teachers raised concerns. They had noticed that I often kept myself to myself, sitting quietly in the corner while the other children played together. At that time, I felt invisible, like nobody really wanted to be my friend. It might sound cliche or overly sentimental, but it was simply the truth. That's how I felt in that moment in time. I think that sense of disconnection shaped much of my early experience and left me feeling very alone in a world I didn't quite understand. However, I am lucky to talk about autism and how I experience life. I've spent years trying to find a light. I've been living with autism all my life, trying to find a purpose, trying to believe that my place here matters. But the truth is, it's exhausting. And sometimes I feel like I'm screaming into a tunnel that just keeps echoing back in silence. I cry endlessly. I break. I question whether I can keep going, not because I'm weak, but because it's draining, because too many feel the way I do and are too afraid to speak up. But I'm speaking now, not just for me, but for anyone who's felt like giving up. The truth is, I felt like that on numerous occasions. I felt like the world had beaten me. It's like carrying the weight of your own existence uphill every single day, only to feel you're not enough. This world can be so incredibly heavy for someone who feels everything so deeply. I don't say this for sympathy. This is not why I'm doing this. I say it because it's real. I'm still here, even if it's just barely. Maybe that bit of honesty starts with something. Maybe that's where change begins. I don't know. Maybe that's where we need to speak up more and just stop pretending we're okay when actually we're not okay. This documentary isn't just a story. It's a piece of my life, my happiness and my struggles. And if it reaches even one person who feels the way I do, then maybe, just maybe, the fight wasn't for nothing. No matter how hard I try, how kind I am, how much I fight, it almost feels like the world keeps pushing you out, and that feeling of being done is real. But maybe this is just a part of a story, I guess.
Since meeting and getting to know Brogan, I've realised that there are so many differences between each individual with autism, and having worked with adults with learning disabilities and having a daughter myself that has Down syndrome, I have lots of experience with people that are more affected by their diagnosis than Brogan is, which I feel makes it harder sometimes for people like Brogan to be understood, as it's not quite so obvious. He is so much fun to spend time with. I always feel like I'm safe and can be myself around Brogan and never feel judged when we go out, as much as he does like to remind me of the embarrassing things that I've done randomly. Knowing Brogan has shown me that there are many types of autism, and although you may not always see it straight away, there are people that may be going through a lot more than you realise. Everybody should be met with patience and understanding, whether they have any type of diagnosis or not, because you never know what's going on behind someone's confident demeanour.
Brogan does not have a malicious bone in his body. He's kind, sweet, caring, understanding, and he's always there, even if we haven't spoken in a while. He's one of the best people that I know, and that is genuinely how I feel. I love to spend time in his company. I think it will be around 2016-17 that we met, so I've known him around 8 years. It's not as long as I actually thought once I worked it out, because it feels like I've known him forever. We met when I was doing a show at a community radio station. One day I went in and he was looking after the reception desk, and we just hit it off straight away. I've learned to be supportive to Brogan. I just need to be there when he needs me, listen, and then offer reassurance and advice, as much as you would with anybody. And I have spent time with Brogan when he's been having a hard time, and he doesn't need things solving for him, but he needs reassurance of his own thoughts and feelings. I think sometimes he can question himself, and you just need to reinforce things that he already knows, but just help to give clarity.
Oh yeah? Steamy? You're steamy with me.
When I first met Brogan, I wasn't initially aware that he had autism, and we instantly became friends and had a lot of common interests and views on certain things. It was later down the line that I learnt about Brogan's autism, and this is where his genuine nature really stood out to me. Although I wasn't aware, it also wasn't something that initially crossed my mind. When arranging to do things socially, Brogan can feel a bit apprehensive and likes to have a clear plan on what we will be doing, who we'll be with, and this allows Brogan to feel comfortable in social situations. Sometimes he can be quieter around a lot of people, but when he's in social situations where he feels completely comfortable, he's always the life and soul of the party. Brogan will always be the one to give me an absolute honest opinion. I first met Brogan when he got with Adam around 7 years ago. When I first met him, we became good friends very quickly. And over the last few years, our friendship has continued to grow from strength to strength. And I'm so glad to be a part of his life. And since being his friend, I have learned that it is always important to listen and take on board how he is feeling and how certain situations can affect him. Brogan has amazing qualities, and I'm really proud to call him my friend.
I think one of the hardest parts for us was the judgment from other people who didn't understand or just didn't want to understand. People that assumed we were bad parents, but we just wasn't the type of people to scream and shout in public. We just always dealt with things back home. We just took the time and patience and explained to him and helped him understand right from wrong. But I do want to give a big thank you to Hayley and Anne, because they just took him under their wing and became his PA. And they supported Brogan and supported us as a family by taking him out and doing things, and then we could do more stuff with the girls.
I met Lisa, Brogan's mum, through my job, where we became really good friends. I also met his sister Bree, as she was a pupil in the school with my nephew Lucas. Bree started coming over my house for tea with Lucas to have some time away from home to herself, as it could become quite intense at home with Brogan sometimes, and she needed a bit of time out. Brogan got quite inquisitive about me, as Bree enjoyed coming over so much and would talk about me when she got home. So I invited him over too. This shocked Lisa and Kevin, as he was often quite reluctant to go with anyone but them. Brogan soon loved coming over and fitted in really well with my family, and they did with him too. We enjoyed doing baking, watching movies, playing games. He even camped in the garden with my nephew, and we had days out. I then started babysitting for Kevin and Lisa at their house to give them some respite and quality time together. I'd spend time with Brianne Brogan. I became a very close family friend, and our families blended well together. Bree and Brogan started calling my parents Nan and Pop. Just before Brogan turned 16, Lisa and Kevin asked if I would become more efficient and be his PA. So I worked with Brogan on reaching his goals and encouraged him to proceed with his passions. We started a savings club, as he really wanted to achieve his goals, like buying an Apple Mac. I taught Brogan how to bake, and he became a really good baker with amazingly tasty cakes. Brogan had a love for filming, and I actively encouraged him with this and built upon his confidence. I became his assistant, an actor, a cameraman, a film writer, producer, and when needed, a critic, which didn't always go down very well. We started with music videos and documentaries, and then we moved on to writing and starring in short films. I'm not the most confident, but Brogan can encourage anybody to do anything. He was definitely a convincing person. The first film we made was mainly myself, Brogan and my mother, and the second movie it branched out to most of my family, his family and all his friends. This led to a big premiere night. It was very glamorous with a red carpet. Looking after Brogan was always a pleasure, and it took a lot of patience and a lot of nurturing. He loved to wind me up, especially tickling my feet, which made me see red, but he thought that was highly amusing.
Every day of our lives. For a long time, I didn't know where I fitted into the world. I wrestled with questions of self-worth, identity, and purpose, wondering who I was and what I was meant to do. There were days I felt lost, unsure of where to turn, or how to move forward at least. But over time I learned to sit with my emotions instead of running from them. I learned that growth doesn't always happen in the big moments. Sometimes it's in the quiet, in the stillness, in the everyday struggles that teach you who you are. I've learned I've always been someone who notices the little things. Emotions, silences, or the small in-between moments. Those details have always spoken the loudest to me, reminding me to slow down and truly see what's in front of me, rather than what's behind. Through reflection and time, I've come to understand why those moments matter so deeply. They reveal truth, they hold honesty, connection, and the kind of beauty that's easy to overlook. And in learning to notice them, I found a deeper sense of purpose, not in doing, but in simply being present in that time. Since leaving school, I've worked in many roles without feeling truly supported within a working environment, in relation to my autism anyway. Employers often seem unsure on how to handle someone with autism, and the lack of understanding has sometimes worsened my mental health on a few occasions. Starting a new job, learning a new routine, meeting new people can feel overwhelming for the average person, never mind someone living with autism. Routine and consistency are vital for me and for anyone with disabilities. These are really accommodated for. Employers often overlook how daunting it is for an autistic adult to navigate unwritten social expectation or sensory triggers. Over simple agreed adjustments, structured instructions, predictable schedules, quiet workspaces, a person with autism can feel and perform at their best. It's not my intention to call out or shame employers. Instead, I'm here to highlight the practical, positive ways to engage and support autistic people in a working environment. And anyone with a disability in the workplace, my aim is to empathise not only the struggles autistic people face in employment, but also the resilience and the immense value we bring when given the support we need. Today I see my autism differently. I see it as a blessing in some ways. It helps me see the world in detail, feel deeply and care intensely. But it's also a path that comes with challenges. The challenges I'm still learning to face with honesty and patience is the key when living with autism. There are still days I struggle, days I feel overwhelmed, misunderstood. It also meant learning to speak up for myself, for my needs, my feelings, and my truth. Whether that's setting boundaries or simply telling how I feel, self-advocacy became my way of saying, here I am, and slowing down. Autism taught me that my pace matters. I don't have to rush to someone else's rhythm. Progress can be small, quiet, and still significant. It's the little victories that build a meaningful life. And most of all, I've learned that being myself isn't the end. It's the foundation. From here, I can love deeply and live fully. And that lesson is the gift I hope others find in their journey too. If there's one thing my journey have taught me, it's this: accepting myself, including autism.
You crack me up.
Wow.
Something that feels small or easy for me can feel huge and overwhelming for him. Sometimes I've just expected him to get on with it, but for Brogan, that's not always possible. Those differences can create tension, but with time I've learned it's not about being right or wrong. It's just about recognising that we experience the world in different ways. I wish more people understood that Brogan isn't being difficult on purpose. When he shuts down, lashes out, it's not him being cruel. It's just his way of coping with something that feels too much. There's always a reason behind it, even if it's not obvious to everyone else. And if people just took the time to be patient, to look past the surface, they'd see the thoughtful, funny and deeply caring person that I know. Our wedding was one of the most happiest days of my life. And while it was an amazing celebration, the plan inside of it was so stressful. And Brogan felt that stress far more deeply than what I did. There were moments where it all felt overwhelming for him, and all I could really do was just reassure him that everything was going to be okay, that, we'd get through it together. Supporting him through that process was just another reminder that it isn't always about trying to fix the way that he's feeling. Sometimes it's simply about being calm, listening and not invalidating the way that he's feeling. And on the day itself, though, all of that melted away. Brogan didn't seem nervous at all. He just looked genuinely happy. When I walked down the aisle and reached him, I gave him the biggest hug, and in that moment, all my own worries and nerves disappeared. It felt safe and it just felt right. Standing there with him, nothing else mattered except us. Marrying Brogan meant everything to me. It meant choosing to spend the rest of my life with the person I love the most and the person I want my future with, challenges included. I wouldn't change him for the world. I was so proud of how confident he was on that day and how his main focus was just the two of us, sharing something that was just ours. Our wedding wasn't about doing things perfectly or ticking boxes. It was about love, understanding and commitment. It was about meeting each other where we are and choosing each other fully. Autism doesn't define a person, but is a part of who Brogan is. And from my experience, people with autism often have the most love to give. They care deeply, even if they don't always show it. And they will go to the ends of the earth for the people that they love. I see that in Brogan every single day. Being with him has completely changed the way I see the world. He's taught me that there isn't just one right way to think, feel, or experience life. I notice the little things more now, and I've learned to slow down, to be more patient, and to see value in perspectives I might have overlooked before. He's shown me that difference isn't something to be feared, it's something that can bring depth, humour, and a whole new way of looking at life. My hope is that people watching this understand that autism doesn't define Brogan, and it doesn't define anyone else who has autism, but is a part of who he is. I want viewers to see beyond the stereotypes, to realise that behind every label there's a person with dreams, challenges and so much more to give. If even one person walks away with a little more empathy and patience, not just for Brogan, but for anyone who sees the world differently, then him sharing his story will have been worth it.
This is the starting point for real change that needs to happen. Learning to see my autism not as a limitation, but as part of me that offers clarity, sensitivity and depth that changed everything. I've learned that living with autism isn't about fixing myself. It's about being myself, understanding myself, accepting who I am, and finding ways to live a full, meaningful life on my own terms, at my own pace. That's why I want to be open about my experience, because I know there's other people out there, young people, adults, maybe even parents, who feel lost, confused, or afraid to speak up. If this story helps even one person feel seen, feel valid, or feel less alone, then it's done what I hoped it would. Autism doesn't define me, or shouldn't define anyone else. Have I got all the answers? Absolutely not. But I've stopped looking for perfection. I'm learning to live, love, and speak up, just as I am. I'm 28, and only now I'm realising it's okay not to be okay sometimes. It's okay to feel sad, alone. I'm proud of myself and what I've overcome over the years. If there's one thing I hope you take from this documentary about autism and mental health, it's we are human. We are still people. A label or diagnosis doesn't make us less. In fact, why are we even labeling it? We just experience the world differently. Autism doesn't define our worth. If this encourages someone to sit with their feelings and realise that it's okay not to be okay, then the purpose behind sharing this have truly been worthwhile. It's okay to have autism, it's okay to feel different, and most importantly, it's okay to feel better about who you are inside, without hiding or feeling ashamed. We all deserve compassion, understanding, and the freedom to be our true self. Everyone's story matters. Just be yourself, because that is enough. This is only the beginning of your journey. Choose yourself, trust your instincts, and keep taking the next brave step. Because this is your story. Make every chapter honest, fierce, and unapologetically yours. In the end, it's not about being perfect. It's about being real. And when you dare to be real, you give others permission to do the same. And that's how change begins. One story, one voice, one brave step at a time. I've learned that carrying secrets only breaks you from the inside. I'm learning to be a voice to my own story instead of being defined by it. I've come to realise that loneliness is brutal, though that's a different kind of pain. One that can tear you apart and make you feel like nobody cares. Heartbreak will always find us, and grief never really ends. It just changes shape. But through it all, I'm learning that honesty is a healer, and that strength isn't about never falling apart. It's about daring to rebuild again and again. I'm learning that growth is messy, and healing isn't plain sailing. Some days you move forward, other days you crumble, and both are okay. I'm realising that forgiveness isn't always about others. Sometimes it's about forgiving yourself for the things you didn't know, the love you gave too freely, the silences you kept for too long. I'm beginning to understand that vulnerability isn't a weakness, it's courage in its own form. And maybe, just maybe, the point isn't to be unbreakable, but to be open enough to feel, to hurt, to love, and to start over with a softer heart each time. This is my story, and not everyone's journey will look like mine. Some paths are harder, some are easier, but it's never about how hard or easy it is. It's about accepting yourself, supporting yourself, and remembering to pause, breathe, and say, "You've done well today." Because if you think no one else is proud of you, why don't you just be proud of yourself? What's wrong with that? This is just a glimpse into the life of someone facing challenges with autism, taking them head on with honesty, courage, and heart. That is all. This is my story, my experiences, in a world that can often feel confusing. Tell your story. Be real to yourself. Let autistic people be heard and not silenced.
said it's a boy and the world felt bright. Little hands reaching into the light. But you were different, I could tell somehow. Couldn't find the words for it back then, not now. Wide awake while the whole world slept. Quiet worries that a mother kept. They'll grow out of it, that's what they say. But something felt different every day.
And I didn't know the name for it, didn't see the signs. Just a feeling deep inside my chest that whispered all the time.
I'm still here, even when it's heavy, even when the world don't get me, when I'm lost inside my mind and I'm running out of fight. I'm still here, through the noise and the silence, through the pain and the defiance. I might bend, I might break, but I'm still here at the end of the day.
Held your hand, said see you soon. Never thought it'd end that afternoon. Now I chase the echoes of your voice in every memory and every choice.
And I wish I slowed down, stayed a while, held on longer to your smile. Now I carry you in everything I do. A piece of me still lives in you. Then you walked in, no questions asked. Saw through every hidden mask. Didn't see a label or a name, just saw me and loved me the same.
You turned the